Hold up, why do they doubt the kid? I'm about to prove them all wrong again. I got a low tolerance, cause they don't even know what the problem is. It's me. You waiting on the boy to fail, then hold your breath and face your death. Cause you play a roulette with each step I progress, no less. Go ahead and place your bet.
Welcome back, y'all. This is the Double M Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Jesus Dinero, here with my co-host,
Puma El Gato.
What do we got going on tonight, my man?
Dana White switching up his story up on Francis Ngannou. Let's talk about it.
You know, in a very dramatic story about a week and a half ago, maybe 2 weeks now, Dana White basically said, hey, Ngannou's not the guy that you guys all think he is. In fact, and he gave an anecdote of one time, they were up in his office, and I guess, according to Dana White, Francis Ngannou was kind of pressing him, saying, you're going to give me a $50,000 bonus. Dana White, in his own words, said, nope, you're not getting it. You didn't deserve it. There was other more deserving matches than the one that you had. And according to Dana White, before Francis Ngannou left, he basically walked up on Dana, according to Dana, in a very intimidating way, and basically looked him down and said, you're going to pay me the $50,000. So that caused a little bit of controversy, because Dana White was basically insinuating that Francis Ngannou had kind of pressed him physically, right? And kind of tried to intimidate him, trying to get that additional pay, that additional $50K bonus, blah, blah, blah. Very recently, Dana White kind of started backtracking a little bit. He's like, look, I'm not saying he put hands on me. I'm not saying he was coming up on me, trying to intimidate me, so on and so forth. Basically trying to backtrack the story a little bit. To make it seem like he wasn't insinuating that Francis Ngannou was physically trying to intimidate him and physically trying to bully him. And listen, man, let's be honest. You can't trust a fucking word out of Dana White's mouth. Dana White, and this is why we continuously call Dana White a fucking scumbag, is the type of dude that will lie to you directly to your face. Remember how, UFC 300 is going to be the biggest UFC pay-per-view. We already have everything on lock. Come to find out, everybody found out that just not that long before the night of UFC 300, they were basically putting a match together until the very last minute. All the things that Dana White constantly says are bullshit. Oh, this next one's going to be the biggest one. This next one's going to be the biggest one. We don't have declining pay-per-views. So many things that Dana White continuously lies about. So the fact that he's now backtracking on this story is no surprise to me, because, again, he is a scumbag. Hey, listen, I know some people, for the reality of the circumstances, for the benefit of this particular channel, calling someone who is basically running the show over at the UFC a scumbag and so on and so forth, it's probably never going to put me on Dana White's friendly list, right? It's probably never going to put this channel on Dana White's, hey, I got to talk to those guys. But listen, if I'm being honest with you, I'd rather have some damn integrity and call things as they are, because Dana White continues to lie. And listen, I don't believe any individual. Can Francis Ngannou lie? Absolutely he can. For all I know, Francis Ngannou is as big a scumbag as Dana White tries to make him seem. But the reality of the circumstances, there is far more that proves that Dana White is a bigger scumbag than Francis Ngannou. Does Francis Ngannou, now that he's become champion in the UFC, that he's retired basically undefeated as champion, and all these other things, went out, boxed Tyson Fury, got all these fights with boxing, made a lot of money. Does Ngannou maybe value himself a little higher than some people believe? Sure, I believe that's a possibility. But the reality of the circumstances is that multiple people, not directly related or directly working with Francis Ngannou, say, hey, this dude's a lovely person. This dude's an extremely nice human being. There's nothing that I've seen, at least apart from Dana White, that would lead me to believe that Francis Ngannou is in fact the scumbag that Dana White tries to make him seem like. Again, if it wasn't just Dana White, if there was multiple people with a reputable name saying, hey, Francis Ngannou isn't that guy, he's a scumbag, I would be a little bit more inclined to believe it. But how many people have come down and outright accused of Dana of outright scumbaggery? We gotta believe it. If it's just one person, maybe two, maybe three, maybe four, maybe five, but it's been way more people than that. The amount of things that Dana White has done to really etch himself into scumbag history kind of goes far beyond anything that if the World Series of Scumbaggery was happening, there is not a single thing that Francis Ngannou has done or allegedly has done that has even come close to the whiff of the things that Dana White has done. So when he's backtracking on this here story, I gotta believe that, let's be honest, people probably started digging into the story. People probably started calling out bits of his story, and that's why he's like, hey man, I don't want to catch a damn defamation case. I should probably back this up just a little bit and reiterate, let me clear myself up real quick. And that's what he's doing now. Did Francis Ngannou ask 50K? More than likely. If you're any fighter, are you going to ask for more money? Absolutely. But to the degree that Dana White was saying that it happened, highly doubt it. Highly doubt it. And listen, man, again, just look at Francis Ngannou's body of work and look at who Dana White is and his body of work, and you tell me, who's more than likely the bigger scumbag between the two? I would venture to say it's probably going to be Dana White. So this backtracking does not surprise me at all, because let's be honest, it's what Dana White does. Dana White puts out this bold narrative out there all the time, and the second he gets just a little bit of pushback, some actual pushback, not from most of the MMA commentators and most of the MMA media, because they basically kowtow to Dana White because that's how he wants it, but when he gets just a little bit of pushback, like when he entered into the boxing arena and not one but two different boxing commentators commented against him, notice he immediately fell under pressure. Because he can't handle it. Dana White tries to act like I'm the big tough guy, I make the decision, and blah, 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 when he is but a pebble when he gets put up against some real pressure. He falls like nothing. This man folds under barely any pressure. What do you think about that, my man?
You know, all the people that are pointing out this story because Francis Ngannou is basically saying, oh yeah, I'd like to come back and fight in the UFC again. And a lot of people are basically saying, okay, he's had his fix in boxing. He's had maybe one fight in the PFL where even the PFL was granting him millions of dollars not to fight anywhere else besides, obviously in boxing. And people are looking and saying, you know what, Dana White might be right in saying that Francis Ngannou was a bit of a scumbag, maybe a bit of a scam artist. And my thing is this, who is more of a scumbag? A commissioner trying to steal as much money as they possibly can out of a fighter, try and squeeze as much money as they possibly can, only give him a pittance for what is essentially a fight of the night, or hell, even a performance of the night, a pittance that, again, a minimum purse that you would find in boxing, 50K, a minimum purse that you would find in boxing, or one fighter that is looking out for his own sole interest. Who is the bigger scumbag here? The person going into the casino and making out as much money as they possibly can, or the house? That is essentially the entire thing about this sort of thing when people are trying to say who is the bigger scumbag, Ngannou or Dana White. It's Dana White by a country mile and a half. Now granted, was it maybe a little shysty for Francis Ngannou to maybe fight only once in the PFL? Maybe, but again, you're asking me to pick sides over the individual or the commission, the corporation. And if that's your argument in saying who's the bigger scumbag, the corporation or the person, I'm going to say the corporation more times out of 10. Even if it's the PFL, even if they're not as big as a conglomerate as the UFC is, I would say Francis Ngannou getting the bag any way that he possibly can. I would say he was more so in the right for that than the UFC basically saying, oh yeah, he's a scumbag, we're not going to do business with him. And let's keep it a stack. It's not like Dana White has gone back on his own word if he knew money was going to be on the table. Dana White has gone on record in the past saying Mayweather and McGregor was never going to happen. And guess what? It happened. He said women were never going to fight in the UFC. Ever. His own words, never going to fight in the UFC. Has 3 weight divisions. Has gone on record and saying domestic violence is not something that you can come back from. Guess what? John Jones fought in the heavyweight division. And I have no doubt with him saying John Jones is never going to fight the white card, a lot of people are banking on that and saying John Jones is coming back, isn't he? Even with the amount of damage that John Jones has done, people are going to say Dana White might walk back on that. And maybe Francis Ngannou might come to the UFC, might not. I think is a possibility, and maybe besides just a defamation possibility, I think there's a possibility we can see Francis Ngannou, even against Dana White's own pettiness. I think if he sees the dollar amount in Francis Ngannou's name, and granted, there is a lot. I mean, he basically did go up against world champions in boxing. Francis Ngannou is a marquee name, whether you want to believe it or not. I think if Dana White sees the dollar signs show up, I think Francis Ngannou might actually come back to the UFC.
Yeah, man. Again, this whole beef that Dana White has with Francis Ngannou just seems really stupid to me because, listen, brother, you're supposed to be the promoter. Whether you like it or not, these dudes should be allowed to speak their minds on whatever they want, especially because Dana White seems to be the free speech advocate, right? And listen, I know some people say, hey, man, he has freedom of speech, but he doesn't have freedom of consequences. Fair enough. That being said, if Dana White is lying, which kind of seems like his story was bullshit, he should face the consequences, right? Listen, man, again, I just think it's stupid that Dana White made this bold claim basically insinuating that Francis Ngannou was pressuring him. And he basically said that he grabbed him by his shirt or some shit like that. Basically saying, hey, you're going to give me the money. Like basically holding him up, unarmed, so to speak, but holding him up. It's just ridiculous, man. Dana White is just the biggest liar, bro. He lies about everything. And I think here's the problem. You got to be braggadocious to build up a fight. You got to be braggadocious to build up an organization. I get that. If he wants to go out there and say the UFC is the greatest fighting organization that has ever lived, even though I may disagree, I understand why he has to do it. He is the face of that organization. He is the promoter. Fair enough. But when you start doing that on stuff that actually matters, like people's reputations and how people perceive other people, scenarios where it could potentially cost them money because you're defaming their character, then we're getting a little bit into, you need to face the consequences too, buddy. Either way, listen, I think the whole story is bullshit. Did Francis Ngannou ask him to, hey, I deserve $50K? I don't doubt that at all, more than likely. But you don't have to paint up all this other BS alongside the story, especially because, let's be honest, man, when you watch Dana White tell this story, go back and watch the video. When you watch Dana White tell this story, he seems like he's making it up on the spot. He gives these different instances and different scenarios, and you could tell like the gears are kind of cranking to put this story together. So I'll be honest with you, I personally don't believe it. Did Francis Ngannou ask for 50? I'm sure he asked for the 50K. I'm sure he did. That's probably like the one kernel of truth in this story. Everything else, I highly doubt it. And I'm not even going to stand up for Francis Ngannou because I have my own beefs with the man himself. But that being said, I'm just going to keep it a buck. This particular story, I don't know how true it is. Either way, it's funny as hell to see Dana White backtrack the story. It's funny as hell to see Dana White make these excuses and try to clarify what he meant, because why do you need to clarify if what you said is the truth? Someone says, you don't got to remember what you said if you tell the truth. Basically saying if you tell a lie, you're going to have to clean it up. If you're telling the truth, it's going to be easy to remember every single time. That tells you loads about the individual that Dana White is, because, again, go back and watch the video. He looks like he's thinking about the story, cranking out the detail after spot, and then this happened, and then this happened, and then this happened. Not like somebody who's telling the truth. But listen, we don't know. It was behind closed doors. It only involved two individuals. They don't have a very high opinion of each other. So I don't feel like we're ever going to truly know what really happened. But either way, I'm more than likely siding on the side of Francis Ngannou, only because we know Dana White to be a bold-faced liar continuously. And with that, make sure to like, comment, hate, subscribe, DM us about the bullshit, and
Until next time, get rest and stay blessed. We'll see you in the next one.